Olivia Reed was running 27 minutes late to the most important job interview of her life. Not 5 or 10 minutes, the kind of lateness one could blame on traffic or an overly ambitious morning routine, but a full 27 minutes of unambiguous career-killing tardiness. Come on, she muttered, jabbing the elevator button repeatedly. Her reflection in the polished doors showed a woman on the edge, chestnut hair escaping from what had been a sleek bun 3 subway stops ago, mascara slightly smudged under one eye, and a coffee stain blooming like modern art on her otherwise pristine white blouse. The elevator dinged open with infuriating casualness, as if it hadn't just participated in ruining her life. Stratton Technologies occupied the top 8 floors of one of Manhattan's sleekest skyscrapers. The company had revolutionized cloud security software and was notoriously selective about its employees. Getting an interview had been miracle enough. Showing up nearly 30 minutes late was corporate suicide. When the elevator finally reached the 52nd floor, Olivia burst into a reception area that looked more like a modern art gallery than an office. The receptionist, a poised woman with a geometric haircut that probably cost more than Olivia's monthly rent, raised a perfectly shaped eyebrow. "Olivia Reed. I have an interview with HR at 9 o'clock, Olivia panted, trying to smooth her hair and straighten her jacket simultaneously. The receptionist consulted her screen. "Ms. Reed, you're expected in conference room E." Her tone suggested that "expected" had expired approximately 27 minutes ago. "Emma will escort you." A young woman materialized with the efficient silence of someone who had mastered the art of walking in 3-inch heels on marble floors. "This way, please," Emma said, with the practiced neutrality of someone who had escorted many doomed candidates before her. As they walked through the office, a gleaming landscape of glass, steel, and employees, who all seemed to have achieved perfect posture, Olivia mentally rehearsed her explanation. Transit delay, too common. Family emergency, too dramatic. The truth? That she'd stayed up until 3 in the morning, obsessively researching Stratton Technologies, then slept through 2 alarms. Definitely not. "Here we are," Emma said, stopping before a frosted glass door. "Good luck." The slight emphasis on luck suggested Olivia would need supernatural amounts of it. Olivia took a deep breath, silently cursed the coffee gods who had conspired against her blouse, and pushed open the door. The conference room was empty except for one man standing by the window, his back to her, as he gazed out at the Manhattan skyline. He was tall, with broad shoulders, under an impeccably tailored suit, dark hair cut precisely to frame a strong profile. "I'm so sorry I'm late," Olivia began, her rehearsed excuses evaporating. "The subway had a 29 minutes, the man interrupted, not turning around. "That's how long I've been waiting." Something about his tone, dismissive, entitled, mocking, ignited a spark in Olivia. After the morning she'd had, running to the subway with one shoe on, spilling coffee when someone bumped her elbow, and now being made to feel like garbage by some HR suit who probably commuted via private helicopter, the spark caught fire. "Actually, it's 27 minutes, she corrected before she could stop herself. "And while I'm deeply sorry for the inconvenience, I'm not sorry enough to be spoken to like I'm a kindergartner who missed nap time." The man turned, revealing a face that magazines regularly described as intimidatingly handsome, all sharp angles and intense grey eyes. His expression was one of mild surprise, as if a piece of furniture had suddenly voiced a political opinion. "Excuse me?" he said. "Look," Olivia continued, riding the wave of adrenaline and self-destruction, "I understand punctuality is important. I respect your time. But I've spent the last 3 years developing a marketing strategy that increased client engagement for Meridian Partners by 73%. I've led teams that transformed failing campaigns into industry benchmarks. I'm exceptionally good at what I do. So yes, I'm late, and that's unprofessional, but so is making someone feel small for a human mistake. The man's expression remained unreadable. Then, to Olivia's horror, he began to walk toward her with the deliberate pace of someone approaching a wild animal. As he came closer, recognition dawned with the force of a falling piano. The sharp jawline, the steel grey eyes, the confident posture of someone who owned not just the room but the entire building. This wasn't some HR representative. This was Nathan Harlow, the Nathan Harlow, founder and CEO of Stratton Technologies, 34-year-old tech prodigy, Time magazine's most influential under 40, 3 years running, and she had just lectured him on professionalism. "Mr. Harlow," she breathed, the fire in her veins instantly replaced by ice. "I didn't realize." "Clearly," he replied, stopping directly in front of her. Too close. Close enough that she could smell his expensive cologne and see the tiny flecks of silver in his otherwise grey eyes. "Tell me, Miss Reed, do you make a habit of scolding potential employers?" "Only on Tuesdays," she said automatically, then mentally kicked herself. Her mouth had always worked faster than her brain, a quality her last boss had described as charmingly insubordinate until it wasn't. To her surprise, the corner of Nathan's mouth twitched. Not quite a smile, but something that suggested the concept of amusement wasn't entirely foreign to him. "It's Thursday," he pointed out. "I'm ahead of schedule in some areas," Olivia replied, wondering if it was possible to die from mortification and deciding it might be preferable to whatever came next. What came next was unexpected. Nathan Harlow, billionaire CEO and notorious perfectionist, laughed. It was a short, rusty sound, as if he didn't use it often. "Your resume said you were innovative," he noted, walking back to the conference table where her file lay open. "Though I expected that to apply to marketing strategies, not interview techniques." Olivia remained frozen by the door, uncertain whether she should sit, flee, or simply dissolve into the expensive carpet. "Sit down, Ms. Reed," Nathan said, gesturing to the chair across from him. Olivia moved to the chair, trying to project confidence while her insides performed Olympic-level gymnastics. She noticed a splash of coffee on her sleeve and surreptitiously tucked it under the table. "So," Nathan said, studying her with unsettling intensity. "Meridian Partners, 73% increase in client engagement. Impressive." 72, Olivia corrected automatically. "I rounded up in the heat of the moment." Nathan raised an eyebrow. "You're correcting your own exaggeration?" "Facts matter in marketing," Olivia said, finding her footing on familiar professional ground. "Hyperbole gets attention, but accuracy builds trust." Nathan nodded, making a note. "And the campaign for Boston Athletic, your role in that was?" For the next 20 minutes, the interview proceeded with surprising normalcy. Nathan Harlow asked pointed, intelligent questions about her work experience, strategy approaches, and views on digital marketing trends. Olivia answered with growing confidence, her earlier mortification receding as she discussed the work she loved. Then the conference room door burst open, and a hurricane in human form entered. "Nate, the Wilson account is..." The woman stopped abruptly, taking in the scene. "Oh, interview. Right." She was perhaps 50, with a shock of silver-white hair cut in a sharp bob and wearing a suit that screamed executive power in at least 6 languages. "Diana," Nathan acknowledged with a nod that somehow conveyed both respect and annoyance. "Ms. Reed, this is Diana Winters, our Chief Operating Officer." "And his work wife," Diana added with a wink at Olivia. 20 years and counting of telling him when he's being an idiot. A role she approaches with religious zeal, Nathan said dryly. Diana's sharp eyes assessed Olivia. "You're the marketing strategist from Meridian, the one with the viral campaign for that fitness app." "Yes," Olivia confirmed, surprised that the COO would know this detail. "Good work on that," Diana said, then turned back to Nathan. "Wilson is threatening to walk. Something about promises your brother made." Nathan's expression darkened. "James has no authority to promise anything." "Tell that to Wilson," Diana replied. 10 minutes, my office." With that, she swept out as dramatically as she'd arrived. Nathan sighed, running a hand through his perfectly styled hair, the first sign of disorder Olivia had observed in him. "My brother," he explained, though Olivia hadn't asked, "believes charm is an acceptable substitute for competence." "Sounds like my sister," Olivia replied. "She once convinced a traffic cop that giving her a ticket would disrupt the cosmic balance. Did it work?" "She still got the ticket, but he apologized for the cosmic disruption." Nathan actually smiled then, a brief, genuine expression that transformed his face from intimidating to almost approachable. "Ms. Reed," he said, standing and rebuttoning his suit jacket in one fluid motion. "I have to deal with this situation." "Of course," Olivia said, rising as well, mentally calculating how quickly she could text her roommate about the interview disaster. "Thank you for your time." Nathan extended his hand. "It was unexpected." Olivia reached to shake his hand, but in her nervousness she misjudged the distance. Her palm connected not with his hand, but with his face, a solid, unmistakable slap against his cheek. The sound seemed to echo in the suddenly silent conference room. Olivia froze in horror, her hand still suspended in the air. Nathan stood perfectly still, a red mark blooming on his left cheek, his expression unreadable. Olivia began, but words failed her entirely. For 3 eternal seconds neither moved. Then Nathan Harlow did the last thing Olivia expected. He smiled, a real, full smile that reached his eyes. "Finally," he said softly, "someone with courage." Before Olivia could process this bizarre response, the conference room door opened again, and an efficient-looking man in wire-frame glasses entered. "Mr. Harlow, the Wilson crisis—" "In a moment, Paul," Nathan said, not taking his eyes off Olivia. "Ms. Reed, the position we discussed requires someone who thinks differently, who challenges assumptions, who isn't afraid." "I didn't mean to slap you," Olivia clarified, feeling it was an important point to establish. "That was an accident." "The slap, perhaps, but everything before that was deliberate. You spoke your mind to someone you thought was being unprofessional, even though it might cost you an opportunity." Nathan rubbed his cheek thoughtfully. "Do you know how many people in this building would dare to do that?" "Based on the general atmosphere, I'm guessing none," Olivia said honestly. "Exactly." Nathan nodded to Paul, who was hovering anxiously by the door. "Get HR to prepare an offer package for Ms. Reed, Director of Strategic Marketing." Paul's eyebrows shot up. "But that position isn't—" "It is now," Nathan interrupted. "And tell Diana I'll be 5 minutes late." After Paul departed, visibly confused, Nathan turned back to Olivia. "The job is yours if you want it," he said, "unless you make a habit of assaulting all your supervisors." "Only the ones who deserve it," Olivia replied, still dazed by this turn of events. Nathan actually laughed again, twice in one day, possibly a personal record. "Monday, 8 o'clock, he said, walking toward the door. "Don't be late, my face can't take the consequences." And then he was gone, leaving Olivia alone in the conference room, her hand still tingling from its unexpected meeting with the CEO's face. She sank back into her chair, trying to process what had just happened. She'd been catastrophically late, lectured the CEO on professionalism, accidentally slapped him, and been offered a director position. Either Nathan Harlow was insane, or she was. Possibly both. Olivia looked down at her coffee-stained blouse and started to laugh. It had been the worst interview of her life, and somehow she'd gotten the job. On Monday morning, Olivia arrived at Stratton Technologies at 7:32, a full 28 minutes early. She'd barely slept, caught in a cycle of excitement, anxiety, and recurring nightmares about accidentally slapping other executives. In one particularly vivid dream, she'd managed to slap the entire board of directors in a single, catastrophic roundhouse motion. The Stratton building was quieter at this hour, with only the most ambitious or anxious employees trickling in. Olivia wore a navy pantsuit she'd splurged on after signing her surprisingly generous offer letter. No white blouse this time. She wasn't tempting the coffee gods twice. Ms. Reed, the same geometric haircut receptionist, greeted her with markedly more respect than during their first encounter. Mr. Harlow's assistant will be down shortly to get you settled. Olivia nodded, perching on the edge of a minimalist chair that seemed designed by someone with a personal vendetta against comfort. Her new salary was nearly double what she'd made at Meridian, with stock options that her financially savvy roommate had described as borderline illegal. They're so good. The position, Director of Strategic Marketing, was several rungs up from what she'd initially applied for. None of it made sense. People didn't get promoted for tardiness and accidental assault. Yet here she was, waiting to start a job she wasn't entirely sure she was qualified for, given to her by a man she'd physically struck. Olivia Reed. She looked up to find a young man with kind eyes and a bow tie that somehow didn't look ironic on him. "That's me," she confirmed, standing. "I'm Marcus Kim, Mr. Harlow's executive assistant." He extended his hand cautiously, as if half expecting her to slap him instead of shaking it. "I'll be showing you to your office and getting you set up." "Thank you," Olivia said, shaking his hand firmly to demonstrate her ability to execute a normal human greeting. "And just to clarify, the slap was an accident. I'm not generally in the habit of assaulting people." Marcus's expression relaxed slightly. "That's reassuring, though you wouldn't be the first person who wanted to slap Mr. Harlow. But I might be the first who actually did it and got promoted," Olivia said. "There is that." Marcus smiled, leading her to a different elevator than the one she'd used during her interview. This one required a key card, which he swiped before pressing the button for the 54th floor. "Executive floor," he explained. "Marketing department is on 48, but directors have offices upstairs." The elevator ascended swiftly, and Olivia's ears popped. "Does that mean I won't be working with the marketing team directly?" "You'll have meetings with them, of course, but you'll be working more closely with the executive team on overall brand strategy." Marcus gave her a sidelong glance. "Mr. Harlow has been dissatisfied with our current marketing approach. He believes we're playing it too safe." "And he thinks I'm not safe?" Olivia asked, remembering Nathan's words about courage. "You did slap the CEO," Marcus pointed out as the elevator doors opened. The executive floor was even more impressive than the reception area, with floor-to-ceiling windows offering panoramic views of Manhattan. Original artwork hung on the walls, not generic corporate pieces, but challenging modern works that demanded attention. "Your office is this way," Marcus said, leading her down a corridor of glass-walled offices. They passed a larger corner office where Diana Winters was visible, gesturing emphatically during what appeared to be a heated phone conversation. She caught sight of Olivia and gave her a quick nod without breaking her verbal stride. "And here we are," Marcus announced, stopping before an office that, while not as large as Diana's, was still considerably more impressive than anything Olivia had imagined. The space featured a sleek desk, a small conference table, and windows overlooking the East River. Her name was already etched on a plaque beside the door. "This is mine?" Olivia asked, unable to keep the awe from her voice. "All yours," Marcus confirmed. "Computer is set up with your credentials. HR paperwork is in the top drawer. The team orientation is at 9 in conference room C, but Mr. Harlow wanted to see you in his office at 8:30. He checked his watch. "Which gives you about 45 minutes to settle in." "Where is Mr. Harlow's office?" Olivia asked, trying to sound casual about her impending meeting with the CEO she'd assaulted 3 days ago. "End of the hall, double doors," Marcus replied. "Can't miss it. Any questions before I leave you to explore?" "Just one," Olivia said. "Does everyone know about the incident?" Marcus's expression was sympathetic. "Not everyone, just most people, possibly all people. The story may have evolved slightly in retelling." "Evolved how?" "Last version I heard, you were a martial arts expert who roundhouse kicked him for being sexist, and he was so impressed he hired you on the spot." Marcus shrugged apologetically. "The Stratton rumor mill is very efficient, if not entirely accurate." Olivia groaned. "Perfect. If it helps, most people seem to find it impressive rather than scandalous, Marcus offered. Mr. Harlow isn't exactly beloved by everyone. Respected, yes. Feared, definitely. But not universally adored. With that comforting thought, Marcus left Olivia to acquaint herself with her new domain. She circled her desk slowly, running her fingers along the polished surface. The chair, unlike the torture device in reception, was ergonomic and adjusted perfectly to her height when she sat. Her computer woke at a touch, already logged in and displaying a welcome message and calendar. The latter showed her meeting with Nathan at 8:30, followed by the orientation, followed by a lunch meeting with the marketing team at noon. Olivia spent the next half hour completing HR forms and exploring her new email, which already contained 62 messages, mostly welcomes, meeting invites, and system notifications. At precisely 8:15, she stood, smoothed her suit, and gave herself a silent pep talk in the reflection of her window. You are qualified. You are professional. You will not slap anyone today. With that mantra in mind, she made her way down the corridor toward the double doors Marcus had indicated. Several employees nodded or smiled as she passed, a few with expressions suggesting they were evaluating whether she looked capable of martial arts. The double doors were imposing, dark wood rather than the glass used throughout the rest of the office. Olivia took a deep breath and knocked. "Come in," called a voice she recognized. Nathan Harlow's office was unexpected, where she'd anticipated more of the sterile minimalism that characterized the rest of Stratton. His space was almost comfortable. Bookshelves lined one wall, filled with an eclectic mix of business texts, classic literature, and what appeared to be vintage comic books. A worn leather sofa occupied another wall, while his desk, though large and clearly expensive, was cluttered with papers, devices, and a half-eaten bagel. Nathan himself was standing by the window, phone to his ear, his back to her. He wore a crisp white shirt with the sleeves rolled up, revealing forearms corded with lean muscle. "No, that's unacceptable," he was saying. "The security protocol was explicit. I don't care if it delays the launch. We're not compromising on this." He turned, saw Olivia, and held up one finger in the universal 1-minute gesture. Olivia nodded and took the opportunity to study him without the haze of panic that had clouded their first meeting. Nathan Harlow was, objectively speaking, ridiculously handsome. The kind of handsome that made ordinary mortals like herself feel slightly inadequate. His features were sharp, with high cheekbones and that strong jaw that financial magazines were so fond of describing as determined. His hair was dark and just long enough to suggest that he didn't have time for frequent haircuts, yet somehow still looked deliberate. But it was his eyes that were most arresting, grey and intense, constantly evaluating, missing nothing. Those eyes were now fixed on her as he ended his call. "Ms. Reed, punctual this time, I see." "I've been known to learn from my mistakes," Olivia replied. "Occasionally. Have a seat," he said, gesturing to the chair opposite his desk as he moved to his own. "I trust Marcus got you settled?" "Yes, thank you. The office is—" Olivia searched for a word that wouldn't sound overly impressed or entitled. "Unexpected." "In what way?" Nathan asked, leaning back in his chair. "Well, it's several steps up from the supply closet I was half expecting after our first meeting." Nathan's mouth quirked. "I don't believe in punishing people for honesty, Ms. Reed. Even when that honesty comes with physical assault?" "That," he said, touching his cheek where she'd slapped him, though the mark was long gone, "was actually a point in your favor. Not the slap itself, but your reaction afterward." "My stammering horror." "Your lack of excessive apology," he corrected. "You acknowledge the mistake without groveling. Do you know how rare that is? Most people in this building would have either denied responsibility entirely or apologized so profusely I'd have to call medical to sedate them." Olivia wasn't sure how to respond to this unusual compliment, so she changed the subject. "About my position, Yes, Nathan said, shifting gears smoothly. Director of Strategic Marketing, a role I've created specifically to address what I see as a critical weakness in our current approach, which is safety, he replied. Predictability, boredom. Our current marketing team is competent but conservative. They've forgotten that Stratton began as a disruptor. We've become exactly the kind of stagnant corporate entity I founded this company to challenge. His intensity was magnetic. Olivia found herself leaning forward, drawn in by his vision. "So you want me to disrupt your marketing?" she asked. "I want you to burn it to the ground and rebuild something authentic," Nathan said with startling vehemence. "Our competitors are all using the same sterile corporate language, talking about integrated solutions and leveraging synergies, while actual human beings are desperate for technology that speaks to them honestly." Olivia nodded slowly. "I see why my approach appealed to you. But I should warn you, not everyone appreciates honesty in marketing. Some clients prefer the comfort of corporate speak." "Those aren't the clients we want," Nathan dismissed. "I built this company to create security solutions that actually work, not to massage the egos of technologically illiterate executives who still use password as their password." Before Olivia could respond to this clear mission statement, the office door burst open without a knock. A man strode in, younger than Nathan but with a clear family resemblance in the jawline and cheekbones. Though his features were softer, his hair lighter, his entire demeanor more relaxed. "Nate, you won't believe who I ran into at—" The man stopped, noticing Olivia. His expression shifted from surprise to interest to a practiced charm, so swift it was almost comical. "Well, hello. You must be the new marketing director, the one with the lethal right hook." "James," Nathan said, with the weary tone of someone who'd had this conversation many times. "Knocking is still customary, even for family." So this was the brother, the one who believed charm was an acceptable substitute for competence. Looking at him, Olivia could see why he might think that. Where Nathan was all sharp edges and intensity, James Harlow was smooth surfaces and easy smiles. "Olivia Reed," she introduced herself, extending her hand cautiously. James took it, holding it slightly longer than necessary. "James Harlow, VP of Client Relations and the handsome brother, as I'm sure you've heard." "Strangely, that didn't come up in the job description," Olivia replied. James laughed. "I like her, Nate. She's not intimidated by you at all, is she?" "She slapped me in our first meeting," Nathan said dryly. "Intimidation doesn't seem to be an issue." "It was an accident," Olivia clarified, wondering if she'd need to print this on business cards. "The best ones always are," James winked. "Like how I accidentally ended up with dinner reservations at Luciana's tonight. Table for 3 just became a table for 2. He gave Olivia an appreciative glance. "Unless you'd care to join me, I could fill you in on all of Stratton's secrets." Before Olivia could formulate a response that wasn't overtly rude to her new colleague's brother, Nathan intervened. "Ms. Reed has orientation this morning and meetings all day, and you have the Wilson account to salvage after your unauthorized promises." James's charm dimmed slightly. "Wilson is overreacting. I simply suggested we might be able to customize. We need to discuss this privately." Nathan cut him off, standing. "Ms. Reed, we'll continue our conversation at the leadership meeting tomorrow. In the meantime, I've shared some files to your drive with my initial thoughts on rebranding." Clearly dismissed, Olivia nodded and stood. "Thank you, Mr. Harlow. James, nice to meet you." "Now the pleasure's all mine," James replied with another smile that probably worked wonders on most women. "Rain check on dinner?" "I think I'll be pretty busy learning the ropes," Olivia demurred politely. As she turned to leave, she caught Nathan watching their exchange with an expression she couldn't quite read. Annoyance at his brother, certainly, but something else too. Something that made her cheeks warm under his scrutiny. The moment she closed the door behind her, she heard Nathan's voice rise. "You can't keep making promises we can't deliver, James." Olivia quickened her pace down the corridor, not wanting to eavesdrop on a family dispute. She had just enough time to grab her notebook before heading to orientation. The morning passed in a blur of information: security protocols, company history, benefits explanations. Olivia took careful notes, but her mind kept returning to her conversation with Nathan. Burn it to the ground and rebuild something authentic. It was a bold mandate, especially in an established company. By lunchtime, she was mentally exhausted and starving, having been too nervous to eat breakfast. She made her way to the 48th floor for her meeting with the marketing team, wondering how they would receive their new director, especially one who'd gained the position through such unorthodox means. Conference room D was already occupied when she arrived. 5 people sat around the table, their conversation stopping abruptly when she entered. "Hello," Olivia said, summoning her most professional smile. "I'm Olivia Reed." A woman with a platinum pixie cut and bright red lipstick stood first. "Samantha Chen, creative director. We've heard a lot about you." Her tone made it clear exactly what they'd heard. "I promise my handshake technique has improved significantly," Olivia said, deciding to address the elephant in the room directly. This broke the ice, generating laughter around the table. Samantha's expression softened. "Bold move. I like it. Let me introduce the team." The introductions went around. Ryan Neville, Digital Strategy Manager; Zoe Washington, Content Director; Tyler Morris, Analytics Lead; and Aidan Parker, Social Media Manager. Each greeted her with varying degrees of warmth, though all seemed curious. "So," Samantha said once they were settled with the catered lunch, "the rumors are flying. Care to tell us the real story of how you slapped Nathan Harlow into giving you a director position?" Olivia choked slightly on her sparkling water. "That's not exactly what happened." "No martial arts training?" Tyler asked, sounding disappointed. "No roundhouse kicks," Olivia confirmed. "Just an extremely awkward handshake attempt after I lectured him on professionalism." This elicited more laughter, and Olivia found herself recounting the disastrous interview. By the time she finished, the atmosphere had warmed considerably. "Classic Nathan, though," Zoe commented. "He values authenticity above almost anything." "That's the impression I got," Olivia agreed. "He's mentioned wanting to completely overhaul our marketing approach." A silence fell over the table. "Ah," said Ryan after a moment. "So that's why you're here. Is that a problem?" Olivia asked, sensing the sudden tension. Samantha and Ryan exchanged glances. "Not a problem," Samantha said carefully, "but it does explain a few things. We've been pushing for a rebrand for over a year, but kept hitting roadblocks with the previous CMO, who mysteriously decided to pursue other opportunities last month," Aidan added, making air quotes. "And now we have you," Tyler said, studying her, "brought in directly by Nathan with a mandate to shake things up." Olivia felt suddenly defensive. "I didn't ask for this position." "No one's saying you did," Samantha assured her. "But you should know what you're walking into. The previous CMO, Martin, was old-school corporate. He and Nathan clashed constantly over the company's messaging. Martin wanted safe. Nathan wanted bold. When sales plateaued last quarter, Martin became expendable. And now you're here to implement Nathan's vision," Zoe concluded. "Which means we need to understand exactly what that vision is." Olivia considered her response carefully. These people had been at Stratton longer than she had. They knew the politics, the personalities, the pitfalls. "I'll be honest with you," she said finally. "I'm not entirely sure what I'm doing here either. Nathan, Mr. Harlow, seems to think I have something valuable to offer based on one extremely unconventional meeting. I don't want to come in and dismantle what you've built without understanding it first." The team visibly relaxed at this approach. "Smart," Samantha approved, "and refreshing. The last consultant they brought in wanted to rebrand us as the security superheroes with an actual cartoon mascot." Olivia winced. "Please tell me you're joking." "I wish," Ryan said grimly. "We spent 3 months fighting that battle." "Look," Olivia said, leaning forward, "here's what I propose. For the next week, I want to immerse myself in everything you've done. Successful campaigns, failures, research, analytics, the works. I want to understand your perspective before I start suggesting changes. Can you help me with that? The relief around the table was palpable. Absolutely, Samantha said, speaking for the group. And maybe, in return, you can help us understand what Nathan actually wants? He gives cryptic directives like make it more authentic and speak to real people, but never specifics. I'll do my best, Olivia promised, though I've spent a grand total of 45 minutes in his company, so I'm not exactly an expert on decoding Nathan Harlow. Still more than most of us get in a month, Tyler observed. He doesn't exactly mingle with the common folk. The conversation flowed more easily after that, turning to specific projects and challenges. By the end of lunch, Olivia had a much clearer picture of the marketing landscape at Stratton and the political minefield she'd inadvertently stepped into. As they were gathering their things to leave, Samantha held back to speak with Olivia privately. "One more thing you should know," she said in a lower voice. "James Harlow. I met him briefly this morning," Olivia said. "He seemed charming, flirtatious, like he'd promise you the moon just to get you to smile." Samantha raised an eyebrow. "That's James, and while he can be genuinely sweet, he's also a complication you don't need right now." "Meaning?" "Meaning the Harlow brothers have a complicated relationship, and new female executives often become unwitting pawns in their dynamic." Samantha's expression was sympathetic but firm. James pursues, Nathan disapproves, tension ensues. It's practically a company ritual at this point. Olivia frowned. "That sounds exhausting." "It is," Samantha confirmed. "Just be aware. And if you want to succeed here, maintain professional boundaries with both of them." Before Olivia could thank her for the advice, Samantha's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and grimaced. "Crisis in creative, gotta run. We'll set up a proper download session tomorrow?" "Perfect," Olivia agreed. As Samantha hurried away, Olivia stood alone in the conference room, digesting everything she'd learned. She'd walked into something far more complex than a new job. Between Nathan's high expectations, James's flirtations, and a team wary of another executive shakeup, she was navigating a professional obstacle course, and she'd thought the slap was the hard part. Her phone buzzed with a calendar notification. Meeting with legal about trademark issues in 15 minutes. No time to dwell on office politics now. Olivia gathered her things, squared her shoulders, and headed for the elevator. First day jitters aside, one thing was becoming clear. Life at Stratton Technologies would never be boring. As the elevator doors closed, she caught a glimpse of Nathan in the corridor, deep in conversation with Diana. He looked up just as the doors were sliding shut, his intense gaze meeting hers for a brief moment that somehow felt significant. Olivia pushed the thought away. Samantha was right. Professional boundaries were essential. No matter how intriguing Nathan Harlow might be, with his vision for authenticity and his rare, transformative smile, he was her boss. Nothing more. Even if the memory of that accidental slap and his unexpected response still made her stomach flutter in a decidedly unprofessional way. By the end of her first week at Stratton Technologies, Olivia had developed 3 certainties. First, the marketing team was talented but demoralized after years of corporate restrictions. Second, navigating the complex dynamics between Nathan and James Harlow required diplomatic skills worthy of the United Nations. Third, she was developing a completely inappropriate fascination with her boss. Friday afternoon found Olivia in her office, surrounded by strategy documents and competitor analyses. The marketing team had been surprisingly forthcoming, eager for fresh leadership after months of limbo. A knock interrupted her concentration. "Come in," she called, expecting Marcus with the report she'd requested. Instead, Nathan Harlow entered, looking uncharacteristically casual in a charcoal sweater rather than his usual crisp shirts. The absence of a tie emphasized the strong column of his throat, and Olivia found herself momentarily distracted. Working late? He asked, glancing at the organized chaos covering her desk. Just getting a handle on things, Olivia replied, trying not to notice how his sweater emphasized the breadth of his shoulders. The team's done some impressive work, even with the constraints. Nathan leaned against the doorframe. And your assessment, so far? They're playing it too safe, she admitted, but not because they want to. There's real creativity here that's been stifled. Exactly what I suspected. Nathan nodded, studying her with that penetrating gaze. You've been avoiding me. The direct statement caught her off guard. I've been busy. 3 cancelled meetings is not busy, Ms. Reed. It's avoidance. Olivia felt heat rise in her cheeks. I wanted to understand the landscape before presenting half-formed ideas. Reasonable, Nathan acknowledged. Except I hired you specifically for those half-formed ideas, for your instincts. Are you second-guessing yourself because of what Samantha told you about Martin? Olivia blinked. How did you... I make it my business to know what happens in my company, he said simply. Martin failed because he refused to adapt. I don't expect you to make the same mistake. Before Olivia could respond, Diana appeared in the doorway behind Nathan. Thought I'd find you here, she said, her shrewd gaze taking in the scene. The Wilson situation needs your attention. Nathan sighed. Again? Your brother promised them the moon. Now they want stars thrown in. Diana's tone was dry but sympathetic. Fine, Nathan conceded, then turned back to Olivia. Monday, 9 a.m., my office. No cancellations. Bring your half-formed ideas, all of them. After they left, Olivia exhaled slowly. Nathan's intensity was both intimidating and exhilarating, a combination that left her professionally stimulated and personally conflicted. Her phone buzzed with a text from her roommate Kate. Drinks tonight? I need gossip about CEO Hottie. Olivia smiled and texted back desperately. O'Malley's at 7. O'Malley's was packed with Friday evening crowds when Olivia arrived. Kate, a petite redhead with an encyclopedic knowledge of New York's legal scene, waved from a corner booth. There she is, Kate called. Corporate America's newest executive. Olivia slid into the booth. Don't remind me. I'm still waiting for security to realize they've made a terrible mistake and escort me from the building. Imposter syndrome, Kate diagnosed, sliding a glass of wine toward Olivia. Classic symptom of being a competent woman. Now tell me everything about the slap. 2 drinks later, Olivia had recounted her entire first week, including Samantha's warning about the Harlow brothers. Let me get this straight, Kate said, leaning forward. Hot CEO brother number 1 hired you after you accidentally slapped him. Hot CEO brother number 2 is already flirting with you. And you're worried about office politics? When you put it like that, it sounds ridiculous, Olivia admitted. It sounds like the plot of a movie I would absolutely watch, Kate corrected. The real question is, which brother are you more interested in? Neither, Olivia protested too quickly. Nathan is my boss and James is complicated. Your face says otherwise, Kate observed, especially when you say Nathan instead of Mr. Harlow. Before Olivia could defend herself, her phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. Ms. Reed, I need your input on the Wilson presentation. Can you meet tomorrow? Nathan Harlow. Speaking of the devil, Kate smirked, reading the message upside down. Saturday work already? He's either a slave driver or finding excuses to see you. It's just work, Olivia insisted, though her pulse had inexplicably quickened. Sure it is, Kate teased, just like that blushes from the wine. Saturday morning found Olivia entering a nearly empty Stratton building, having spent an embarrassing amount of time deciding what to wear for a just work meeting. She'd settled on dark jeans and a professional but casual blouse, a compromise between weekend comfort and executive presentation. The executive floor was eerily quiet. Only Nathan's office showed signs of life, lights glowing behind the double doors. Olivia knocked lightly. Come in, called the now familiar voice. Nathan sat at his desk, surrounded by even more papers than usual, his hair slightly disheveled, as if he'd been running his hands through it. He'd forgone a suit again, wearing a navy Henley that made him look more like a model than a tech CEO. "You're here," he said, sounding pleased. "Coffee?" "Please," Olivia replied, accepting the mug he offered from a sideboard equipped with an expensive-looking espresso machine. "The Wilson account," Nathan explained, gesturing to the chaos on his desk. "James promised customization we can't deliver on our current platform, and now I need to decide whether to rebuild the security architecture or lose a $15 million client." Olivia frowned. "And you need my marketing input because I need someone who sees things clearly," Nathan said, his grey eyes holding hers. "Someone not trapped in Stratton's usual thinking patterns." "You barely know me," Olivia pointed out. "I know enough." His certainty was both flattering and unnerving. For the next 2 hours, they worked through the Wilson problem, Olivia offering perspectives from brand positioning, while Nathan explained technical limitations. Their thinking styles complemented each other, her creative approach balancing his analytical precision. "This could work," Nathan said finally, looking at their solution with satisfaction. "Wilson gets their customization within parameters we can actually deliver. And Stratton maintains its integrity while expanding market potential," Olivia added, feeling the professional thrill of solving a complex problem. Nathan smiled, one of his rare, genuine expressions. "Exactly." A comfortable silence fell between them. Olivia became acutely aware of how close they were sitting, how the morning light emphasized the angular planes of his face, how his presence filled the room, even when he was still. "Thank you for coming in today," he said, his voice lower than before. "Not many people would give up their Saturday." I'm not many people," Olivia replied, maintaining eye contact despite the sudden flutter in her chest. "No," Nathan agreed, his gaze dropping briefly to her lips before returning to her eyes. "You're not." The moment stretched, charged with possibility. Olivia found herself leaning slightly forward, drawn by some invisible force. The office door burst open without warning. "Nate, you won't believe who called." James stopped abruptly, taking in the scene. His expression shifted from surprise to understanding to something harder. "Well, Saturday meeting must be important." The tension in the room transformed instantly from magnetic to awkward. "Wilson account," Nathan said curtly, leaning back in his chair. "Ms. Reed had some valuable insights." "I'm sure she did," James replied, his usual charm notably absent. He turned to Olivia with a tight smile. "My brother always finds the most interesting talent." The emphasis on interesting wasn't subtle. "I should go," Olivia said, standing abruptly. "I have plans this afternoon." "Of course," Nathan said, rising as well. "We'll finalize the Wilson approach on Monday." As Olivia gathered her things, the brothers engaged in one of those silent communications that only siblings can manage. Loaded glances conveying volumes of unspoken history. "Always a pleasure, Olivia," James said as she headed for the door, his tone suggesting otherwise. In the elevator, Olivia exhaled slowly, trying to process what had just happened, or almost happened, with Nathan. Samantha's warning echoed in her mind. Maintain professional boundaries with both of them. Her phone buzzed with a text from Kate. "How's the Just Work meeting going?" Olivia typed back, "Complicated." An understatement if ever there was one. 1 week at Stratton, and she was already entangled in the Harlow dynamics, despite her best intentions. What made it worse was her growing certainty that her attraction to Nathan wasn't simply physical. There was something compelling about his vision, his directness, the glimpses of vulnerability beneath his controlled exterior. But he was her boss. A relationship would be professionally disastrous, personally complicated, and exactly the kind of distraction she didn't need while establishing herself in a new role. Olivia squared her shoulders as the elevator reached the lobby. Monday would be strictly professional. No more almost moments, no more lingering eye contact, just clear boundaries and focused work. She was almost convinced she could manage it. The Wilson crisis required an all-hands marketing approach. Over the next 2 weeks, Olivia barely had time to overthink her almost moment with Nathan as she orchestrated a strategy that would salvage the relationship while establishing new communication guidelines, something she'd ironically failed to establish in her own professional relationships. "You're a miracle worker," Diana told her after the successful presentation to the Wilson executives. "They came in ready for war and left practically offering to name their firstborns after us." "Just doing my job," Olivia demurred, though pride warmed her chest. "Your job description didn't include fixing James's messes," Diana countered. "Nathan's impressed, by the way." Olivia ignored the flutter those words caused. "Speaking of Nathan, is he always so intense, demanding, emotionally constipated?" Diana supplied helpfully. "I was going to say, hands-on with marketing decisions," Olivia finished, though Diana's descriptors weren't inaccurate. Diana's shrewd eyes assessed her. "Nathan's hands-on with everything he cares about. And right now, he cares very much about redefining Stratton's public image." A pause, "among other things." Before Olivia could decipher that cryptic addition, James Harlow appeared, his usual charm firmly back in place after their awkward Saturday encounter. "Ladies," he greeted them, "I hear the Wilson presentation was a triumph. We should celebrate." He focused on Olivia. "Dinner. My treat, as thanks for cleaning up my mess." Diana coughed something that sounded suspiciously like bad idea, but smiled innocently when Olivia glanced at her. "I appreciate the offer," Olivia said carefully, "but I've got plans tonight." "Tomorrow, then," James persisted. "James." Nathan's voice cut through the conversation as he approached, his expression neutral, but his tone carrying a warning. "Finance needs you. Something about unauthorized expense approvals." James's smile tightened. "Always the responsible one, aren't you, Nate?" He turned back to Olivia. "Rain check on dinner, though maybe next time without the chaperone." After James departed, an uncomfortable silence fell. "Ms. Reed," Nathan said formally, "my office. We need to discuss the new campaign timeline." Once inside his office, however, Nathan's professional demeanor shifted. "You don't need to have dinner with him," he said without preamble. Olivia raised an eyebrow. "I wasn't aware my dinner plans required executive approval." "They don't," Nathan conceded, running a hand through his hair, a gesture she'd learned indicated frustration. "But James has a pattern with female executives." "So I've heard," Olivia replied, "though I'm perfectly capable of managing my own social calendar." "Of course," Nathan said quickly. "I just don't want you to feel pressured because he's a Harlow." "Is that the only reason you're concerned?" Olivia asked, a boldness overtaking her. Nathan's gaze intensified. "What are you asking exactly?" "I think you know," Olivia said, heart pounding. The silence between them crackled with tension. "This is inappropriate," Nathan finally said, though he didn't move away. "Completely," Olivia agreed, even as she took a step closer. "I'm your boss." "You are." "There are 100 reasons why this is a bad idea." "At least," Olivia confirmed, now close enough to catch the subtle scent of his cologne. Nathan exhaled slowly. "Dinner tomorrow, not as your boss, just to talk." "Just to talk," Olivia repeated, uncertain whether she was disappointed or relieved. "I know a place where we won't be recognized," Nathan added. "Discretion is essential," Olivia finished, "especially given the rumors already circulating about how I got this job." Nathan winced. "I didn't consider that complication." "There seem to be a lot of complications," Olivia observed. "Yes," he agreed, his voice low. "But some things are worth complicating your life for." "You're having dinner with your boss," Kate exclaimed when Olivia called for fashion advice, after explicitly being warned about the Harlow brother dynamics. "It's just dinner," Olivia insisted, though the butterflies in her stomach suggested otherwise. "There is no such thing as just dinner with a man who looks like that and hired you after you slapped him," Kate countered. "Wear the green dress. The one that makes you look like you could either close a business deal or break hearts." "Too obvious," Olivia decided. "This needs to seem casual, professional adjacent." Kate sighed audibly. "You're overthinking this," He already likes you. Just be yourself, the one with enough backbone to call him out when everyone else is too intimidated. I'm not intimidating, Nathan protested the following evening after Olivia relayed Kate's assessment. They sat in a corner booth of a small Italian restaurant in the West Village, the kind of authentic neighborhood place tourists never discovered. True to Nathan's promise, no one had recognized him, and the staff treated them with the same casual warmth they showed all customers. "You're extremely intimidating," Olivia countered, relaxing, as their second glass of wine took effect. "You storm around with that intense expression, making decisions worth millions of dollars while looking like you stepped out of a business magazine photo shoot." Nathan actually laughed, a sound she was hearing more frequently lately. "Is that how you see me?" "It's how everyone sees you," Olivia said, "except maybe Diana. Diana's known me since I was 22 and pitching security software from my garage," Nathan explained. "Hard to be intimidated by someone after you've seen them surviving on ramen and coding for 48 hours straight." Conversation flowed easily as they shared stories. Olivia about her marketing disasters and triumphs, Nathan about building Stratton from nothing. He was different outside the office, still intense, still brilliant, but more relaxed, more willing to laugh at himself. "Why marketing?" he asked as they lingered over dessert. "What drew you to it?" "I love finding the truth in things," Olivia answered thoughtfully. "Not the glossy, perfect version, but the real story that makes people connect. The most effective campaigns aren't about perfection, they're about authenticity." Nathan nodded, watching her with that focused attention that made her feel like the only person in the world. "That's exactly what Stratton needs." "Is that why you hired me? Because I accidentally demonstrated authenticity by slapping you?" "I hired you because in 30 minutes you showed more genuine conviction than most people I meet in a year," Nathan said seriously. "The slap was just memorable punctuation." The conversation eventually turned to family, and Nathan's expression tightened when discussing James. "He wasn't always like this," Nathan said, swirling the last of his wine. "After our parents died, something changed. He became determined to enjoy life at all costs, while I became determined to control everything," Olivia finished gently. Nathan's surprised look suggested no one had ever summarized him so directly. "We should probably head back," he said, glancing at his watch. "Early meeting tomorrow." Outside, the spring evening was surprisingly mild. They walked slowly, neither mentioning the car service Nathan could easily have called. "This was nice," Olivia said as they paused at a street corner. "Complicated, probably ill-advised, but nice." "Very ill-advised," Nathan agreed, his eyes never leaving hers. "I should be more responsible." "Probably," Olivia murmured, aware of how close they were standing. "Tell me to stop," Nathan said quietly, leaning in. "I'm not going to do that," Olivia replied. His kiss was tentative at first, a question rather than a demand. When she responded, it transformed into something deeper, his hand cradling her face with surprising gentleness, for a man usually so commanding. When they finally broke apart, reality came rushing back. "This complicates everything," Olivia whispered. "Everything worth having usually does," Nathan replied, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. Neither noticed the figure across the street, watching with narrowed eyes, before raising a phone to snap a picture of their embrace. Monday morning brought unwelcome clarity. Olivia had barely settled at her desk when Samantha appeared, looking concerned. "Have you seen it?" she asked without preamble. "Seen what?" Olivia asked, dread pooling in her stomach. Samantha placed her phone on the desk, displaying an office message board where an anonymous post showed a grainy but unmistakable photo of Olivia and Nathan kissing on a street corner. The caption read, "How to fast-track your career at Stratton. Step 1, slap the CEO. Step 2, date him." "It's already everywhere," Samantha said sympathetically. "HR is trying to get it taken down, but the damage is done," Olivia finished, feeling sick. Everything she'd worked for, all her credibility, compromised by one moment of weakness. Her office door burst open, and James Harlow entered, his expression thunderous. "Is it true?" he demanded. "You and Nathan?" "That's none of your business," Olivia replied, standing. "It is when it affects the company," James shot back. "Do you have any idea how this looks? The rumors are already spreading to clients." Before Olivia could respond, Nathan appeared in the doorway, his expression controlled, but his eyes blazing. "James, out! Now!" "You need to fix this, Nate," James said, not moving, "before the board gets involved." "I said out," Nathan repeated, his voice dangerously quiet. After James left, an uncomfortable silence fell. Samantha made a tactful retreat, closing the door behind her. "I'm sorry," Nathan finally said. "This isn't fair to you." "Did you know," Olivia asked, "that something like this might happen?" "I suspected someone might talk," Nathan admitted, "but I didn't expect this." He gestured to the phone, still displaying the damning image. "What happens now?" Olivia asked, hating how small her voice sounded. "Now," Nathan said, his expression hardening, "I find out who did this and make them regret it. And us." The question hung between them. Nathan's face softened. "That depends. Do you want there to be an us?" Before Olivia could answer, her office phone rang. Diana's voice came through the speaker. "Nathan, the board is calling an emergency meeting. They want both of you there, now." As they headed toward the boardroom, Olivia fought rising panic. One dinner, one kiss, and her professional reputation was potentially in tatters. "Whatever happens in there," Nathan said quietly, as they reached the boardroom doors, "remember this isn't about your qualifications. You've more than proven yourself." "Easy for you to say," Olivia replied. "You own the company." "I'm the woman who apparently slept her way into a director position." Nathan's expression darkened. "No one who matters believes that." "Everyone who matters is about to question it," Olivia countered, squaring her shoulders as Nathan pushed open the boardroom doors. The room fell silent as they entered. 8 board members, Diana and, to Olivia's surprise, James, all watching with expressions ranging from concern to disapproval. The complications, it seemed, were just beginning. "This is a PR disaster," announced Walter Green, the oldest board member, as Olivia and Nathan took their seats. "Social media is already calling it slap-pointed CEO, a reference to how Ms. Reed allegedly obtained her position. My personal life is not board business," Nathan stated flatly. "It is when it affects company valuation," countered Eliza Choi, head of the finance committee. "We've had 3 client calls already questioning Stratton's hiring practices." Diana intervened with practiced diplomacy. "Perhaps we should focus on solutions rather than laying blame." The tension in the room was suffocating. James sat silently, his expression unreadable as the board debated various damage control strategies, most involving Olivia's immediate reassignment or resignation. "Enough," Nathan finally said, his voice cutting through the debate. "Ms. Reed was hired for her qualifications. The personal relationship developed after." Which the public won't believe," Walter pointed out. "Then we change the narrative," Olivia said suddenly, finding her voice. All eyes turned to her. "This is a marketing problem. Let me solve it." "You're suggesting you market your way out of a scandal you're at the center of?" Eliza asked skeptically. "I'm suggesting we use this as an opportunity to demonstrate the very quality Nathan hired me for. Authenticity." Olivia's mind raced. "Stratton has been playing it safe for too long. This is our moment to be real." After heated discussion, Olivia was given 48 hours to develop a crisis management strategy. As the board filed out, James lingered. "Well played," he said quietly. "Though I wonder if authenticity extends to revealing who leaked the photo." Olivia's eyes narrowed. "Was it you?" "Why would I sabotage my own family's company?" James asked. But his non-denial spoke volumes. Olivia spent the day with her marketing team, channeling her personal humiliation into professional determination. "We're going to flip the script," she told them. "Instead of hiding, we're going to own the narrative." Samantha nodded approvingly. Crisis as opportunity. Bold strategy. By evening, Olivia had a comprehensive plan but needed Nathan's approval. She found him alone in his office, looking more tired than she'd ever seen him. "I have a proposal," she announced without preamble, "for handling the scandal or for something more personal." Nathan asked with a wry smile. "The scandal first. The personal, that's more complicated." Olivia outlined her strategy. A transparent video interview with both of them, addressing the rumors directly, then pivoting to announce Stratton's new marketing direction, one emphasizing honesty over corporate polish. "We use this moment to demonstrate exactly what we've been talking about, that authenticity builds stronger connections than perfection," she explained. "We acknowledge the relationship, clarify the timeline, and redirect attention to what matters. Stratton's commitment to real communication." Nathan studied her thoughtfully. "It's risky." "So was hiring me after I slapped you," Olivia pointed out. His smile returned. "Fair point. Let's do it." Their conversation inevitably turned personal. "About us," Olivia began carefully, "I think we need to pause." Nathan's expression remained neutral. "Because of the board. Because I need to prove myself on my own merits," she clarified. "Not as Nathan Harlow's whatever." "And girlfriend is the traditional term," Nathan supplied, "though it seems inadequate. Whatever the term, we need boundaries until this blows over." The words hurt to say, but Olivia knew they were necessary. Nathan nodded slowly. "For how long?" "Until my work speaks louder than office gossip," Olivia replied. "However long that takes." The video strategy worked better than anyone anticipated. Shot in Nathan's office with casual honesty rather than scripted corporate speak, their conversation humanized both of them. They acknowledged their growing relationship, clarified that Olivia's hiring preceded any romantic involvement, and seamlessly transitioned to Stratton's new commitment to transparent communication. Tech media loved it. "Stratton turns PR crisis into brand revolution," headlined the industry's leading blog. Clients who had been concerned called to express support. Even some board members grudgingly admitted the approach was effective. Only James remained visibly displeased, watching from the sidelines as Olivia's strategy salvaged both her reputation and strengthened Stratton's brand positioning. 3 weeks after the scandal broke, Olivia was working late when Diana appeared in her doorway. "You've impressed a lot of people," Diana said, settling into a chair. "Not just with the crisis management, but with how you've conducted yourself since." "You mean maintaining professional boundaries with Nathan?" Olivia asked. "That," Diana agreed, "and delivering the marketing overhaul he hired you for, despite the personal complications." The rebrand was going well. Olivia's team had embraced the authentic approach, creating campaigns that spoke to customers as intelligent partners rather than targets. Early results showed increased engagement and positive brand perception. "Nathan values the company above everything," Diana continued. "It's been his entire life since our parents died when he was 21, leaving him to raise James and build a business simultaneously." "I didn't realize he raised James," Olivia said, surprised. 8-year age gap, Diana explained. "James was just 13 when they lost their parents." Nathan postponed his own grief to be both brother and parent. "Maybe that's why he's always cleaning up James's messes. He feels responsible." The insight shifted Olivia's understanding of both brothers. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I haven't seen Nathan smile this much since before the accident," Diana said simply, "and because James is planning something." "What kind of something?" "I don't know yet," Diana admitted, "but he's been meeting with board members privately. Just be careful." Diana's warning proved prescient. The following Monday, Olivia arrived to find an emergency executive meeting called. When she entered the conference room, the tension was palpable. Nathan sat at the head of the table, his expression granite. James stood near the windows, looking simultaneously triumphant and uncomfortable. The executive team and several board members filled the remaining seats. "Ms. Reed," Walter Green acknowledged her, "please sit." We were just discussing a proposal from James regarding the marketing department restructuring. Restructuring, Olivia repeated, taking the only available seat, directly across from Nathan, who wouldn't meet her eyes. James believes your team should report through sales rather than directly to the CEO, Walter explained. He's made a compelling case that this would remove any appearance of favoritism. The implication was clear. Despite their weeks of professional distance, despite the successful crisis management, the board still saw her as Nathan's romantic entanglement rather than an executive in her own right. I see, Olivia said carefully. And what does our CEO think of this proposal? All eyes turned to Nathan, whose jaw tightened perceptibly. The board feels this restructuring would benefit company governance, he said, his voice controlled. I've agreed to consider it. The betrayal stung more than Olivia expected. After weeks of maintaining perfect professional boundaries, after proving herself repeatedly, Nathan was considering removing her direct reporting line because his brother suggested it. If I may, Olivia said, summoning every ounce of composure, this restructuring seems to address a problem that no longer exists. Our recent campaigns have increased engagement by 42%. Client feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. And Nathan, she deliberately used his first name, watching the subtle reactions around the table. And I have maintained strictly professional interactions since addressing the rumors weeks ago. She turned to James. Which raises the question, what is this restructuring really about? James's confident smile faltered slightly. It's about proper corporate structure, not personal. It's about control, Olivia interrupted, and perhaps about something else. She looked directly at him. Like who leaked that photo in the first place? The room fell silent. Nathan's head snapped up, his eyes narrowing as he looked between Olivia and James. That's a serious accusation, Walter said uncomfortably. Yes, it is, Olivia agreed. Almost as serious as undermining a successful department because of personal jealousy. James flushed. You never what? Nathan asked, his voice dangerously quiet. Never leaked the photo? Never orchestrated this restructuring to remove Olivia from my direct reports? Never undermined this company because you felt overlooked? The brothers stared at each other, years of complicated history crackling between them. Diana cleared her throat. Perhaps we should continue this discussion after reviewing the latest campaign performance data. I have the reports here, and they're quite compelling. Her intervention broke the tension enough for Walter to agree to postpone the decision. As the room cleared, Nathan caught Olivia's arm. My office, he said quietly. We need to talk. Once alone, the professional veneer cracked. You think James leaked the photo? Nathan demanded. I think it's suspicious that he's pushing to restructure my department right after our most successful quarter, Olivia replied. And he practically admitted it when he confronted me after the board meeting. Nathan ran a hand through his hair in frustration. Even for James, that would be personal, Olivia supplied. Maybe that's the point. This isn't about business for him. What do you mean? Diana told me about your parents, Olivia said gently, about how you raised him. Nathan's expression softened slightly. That was a long time ago. But it shaped both of you, Olivia insisted. You became the responsible one, carrying everything. He became the one who breaks things and expects me to fix them, Nathan finished, realization dawning. And now he sees you as competition for your attention, Olivia confirmed. The one person you can't fix for him. The silence between them felt different now, charged with understanding rather than tension. I've missed you, Nathan said quietly. These professional boundaries have been necessary, Olivia reminded him, though her resolve was weakening. But are they still? Nathan took a step closer. You've more than proven yourself. The team respects you. The campaigns are succeeding. Even the board is impressed, except for the part where they're considering restructuring my entire department, Olivia pointed out. They won't, Nathan said with newfound determination. Not after I talked to James. "This isn't just about James," Olivia said. "It's about us figuring out if there can be an us without compromising everything else." Nathan's phone buzzed with an urgent message. "Crisis with the Morgan server launch," he explained, frustration evident. "I have to deal with this." "Go," Olivia said. "We'll finish this conversation later." As Nathan left, Olivia wondered if there would ever be a right time for them, if the complications would ever simplify enough to allow whatever was growing between them to flourish without threatening everything else they'd built. Olivia didn't see Nathan for the next 3 days. The Morgan server crisis demanded his full attention, while she focused on finalizing their biggest campaign yet, a complete reimagining of how Stratton communicated its security solutions. On Thursday afternoon, Marcus appeared at her office door, meeting in conference room A in 10 minutes, all executives required. Olivia found the executive team already assembled, the atmosphere unusually tense. Nathan sat at the head of the table beside Walter Green, both looking grave. James was noticeably absent. "Thank you all for coming," Nathan began once Olivia was seated. "I'll be direct. James Harlow has resigned as VP of Client Relations, effective immediately." Murmurs rippled through the room. Diana caught Olivia's eye with a subtle nod. "James has admitted to actions that violated company policy," Nathan continued, his voice professionally neutral, despite the personal nature of the announcement, "including leaking confidential information and attempting to manipulate board decisions for personal reasons." Walter cleared his throat. "The board has unanimously rejected the proposed marketing department restructuring and formally apologizes for entertaining it." After addressing several questions about transition plans, Nathan dismissed the group but signaled for Olivia to remain. Once they were alone, his professional mask slipped. "He confessed everything," Nathan said, exhaustion evident in his voice. "The photo leak, the campaign to undermine you, all of it." "What made him admit it?" Olivia asked gently. "I confronted him with evidence Diana had gathered. But honestly, I think he was relieved to stop pretending." Nathan's expression softened. "He's checking into a wellness retreat in Arizona, says he needs to figure out who he is without the Harlow name defining him." That sounds healthy," Olivia observed. "For both of you." Nathan nodded slowly. "I've been fixing his problems for so long. I never considered that might be the problem." He met her eyes directly. "You helped me see that. Along with nearly destroying your company's reputation and creating a viral hashtag," Olivia added wryly. To her surprise, Nathan laughed, a genuine unburdened sound. "If that's what it takes to wake me up, so be it." Their conversation was interrupted by Samantha, who burst in without knocking. "The campaign results are in. You both need to see this." The authentic approach had exceeded all projections. Engagement rates had doubled, conversion was up 64%, and client feedback praised Stratton's refreshing honesty in an industry drowning in technical jargon and empty promises. "This calls for celebration," Diana declared after reviewing the numbers with the marketing team. "Drinks at Marcello's, 7 o'clock, mandatory attendance." As the team dispersed, buzzing with excitement, Nathan approached Olivia. "Do you have a minute? There's something I'd like to show you." He led her to the rooftop terrace, an executive perk she hadn't yet explored. The Manhattan skyline stretched before them, glittering in the early evening light. "I come here when I need perspective," Nathan explained, leaning against the railing. "When the details get overwhelming and I need to see the bigger picture." "It's beautiful," Olivia said, joining him at the railing. "I've been thinking about perspective a lot lately," Nathan continued. "About seeing things clearly versus getting lost in complications." "And?" Olivia prompted when he paused. "And I've realized something." He turned to face her fully. "The complications between us, the professional boundaries, the company politics, the public perception, they're real, but they're not the bigger picture." "What is then?" Olivia asked, heart quickening. "This," Nathan gestured between them. "Whatever this is, it matters more than the rest." But that's a rather significant realization for someone who's built his life around a company, Olivia observed, though she couldn't suppress her smile. You slapped some sense into me, Nathan replied with unexpected humor. Literally. Olivia laughed, tension dissolving. So what happens now? Now we stop pretending we can ignore this. He took her hand. The board knows, the company knows, everyone knows. We've maintained professional boundaries for weeks, proven we can work effectively together, and delivered exceptional results. Are you suggesting a merger? Olivia teased. I'm suggesting dinner, tonight, after the team celebration. His thumb traced circles on her palm. No hiding this time. What about the complications? Olivia asked, though her resistance was melting under his touch. We'll manage them, Nathan said confidently. Together. Unless you'd prefer to keep things strictly professional. Olivia pretended to consider this. Well, there are advantages to a professional relationship. Less messiness, clearer boundaries, no risk of accidentally slapping you again. I'd risk another slap, Nathan said softly, drawing her closer. That's very accommodating of you, Mr. Harlow, Olivia murmured as his face lowered toward hers. I can be very accommodating, Ms. Reed, he replied, just before their lips met. Unlike their first kiss, hesitant, questioning, this one held certainty. The certainty of two people who had navigated complications and chosen each other anyway. When they finally broke apart, Olivia smiled. You realize this will definitely restart the office gossip. Let them talk, Nathan said, unconcerned. We have a campaign about authenticity to live up to. Marcello's was packed with Stratton employees celebrating the campaign success. When Nathan and Olivia arrived together, a momentary hush fell before conversation resumed, now with an undercurrent of knowing glances. Well, that's one way to announce you're official, Samantha commented, sliding a glass of champagne toward Olivia. Subtlety never was your strong suit. Nay, says the woman who created a billboard with the headline, Security doesn't have to suck, Olivia countered, accepting the champagne. Which is our best performing ad of the quarter, Samantha pointed out. Sometimes directness works. Across the room, Diana raised her glass in silent toast when she caught Olivia's eye. The gesture felt like approval, or perhaps blessing. The celebration continued well into the evening. Nathan remained by Olivia's side, their professional composure relaxing into something more natural as they shared the team's success. Occasionally, his hand would find hers under the table, or her shoulder would lean against his, small intimacies that felt both new and inevitable. As the night wound down, they found themselves alone at a small table while the remaining team members clustered around the bar. I've been meaning to ask you something, Nathan said, his expression suddenly serious. That sounds ominous, Olivia replied, setting down her glass. Not ominous, just important. He leaned forward. The Morrison account. Their security needs have evolved beyond what our current platform offers. I'm thinking we need a completely new approach. Olivia blinked, surprised by the professional pivot. That's what you wanted to ask me, about work. You expected something more personal, Nathan asked innocently. Given the context of the evening, yes. Interesting. Nathan's eyes sparkled with amusement. And here I thought we were maintaining professional boundaries. Olivia narrowed her eyes. You're teasing me. Absolutely, Nathan confirmed, taking her hand openly. Though the Morrison question is legitimate, I value your perspective. On work and other matters? Olivia asked, playing along. Especially other matters. He squeezed her hand. For instance, I'd value your perspective on whether you'd like to have breakfast tomorrow at my place. The implications hung between them, charged with possibility. That would be highly unprofessional, Mr. Harlow, Olivia said, leaning closer. Completely inappropriate, Ms. Reed, he agreed, his voice low. I accept, Olivia said simply. Nathan's smile, rare and genuine, transformed his face. It was the smile she'd first seen after accidentally slapping him, the one that had started this unlikely journey. I should warn you, Olivia added. "I have terrible morning coordination. I might accidentally slap you again while reaching for coffee." "I'll risk it," Nathan replied, his thumb tracing her knuckles. "Some risks are worth taking." 6 months later, Stratton Technologies unveiled its most successful quarter in company history. The authentic marketing approach had revitalized the brand, attracting new clients while strengthening existing relationships. Olivia's team had expanded to handle increasing demand, and the board had unanimously approved her promotion to Chief Marketing Officer. James had returned from his wellness retreat with a clarity that surprised everyone, choosing to pursue non-profit work rather than rejoin Stratton. His relationship with Nathan remained complicated but was healing, evidenced by their monthly dinners that no longer ended in arguments. Olivia stood in Nathan's office, reviewing their newest campaign draft on his tablet. His arms wrapped around her from behind, chin resting on her shoulder as he studied the design. "Bold," he commented, indicating the headline, "Security that actually works, from people who actually care." "Too direct?" Olivia asked. "Perfect," Nathan corrected, pressing a kiss to her temple. "Honest. Real. Like us," Olivia said, turning in his arms to face him. "Exactly like us." Nathan smiled, the smile that still made her heart race, though with significantly less slapping. "The day's not over yet," Olivia teased, reaching up to trace his jawline. "I could still accidentally make contact during our dinner meeting." "I'll take my chances," Nathan said, capturing her lips in a kiss that promised much more than professional collaboration. Outside his office window, Manhattan sprawled in all its complicated glory, a fitting backdrop for a relationship that had navigated corporate politics, public scrutiny, and family dynamics to find something authentic amidst the chaos. What had begun with a slap had evolved into something neither could have anticipated, a partnership that strengthened both of them, professionally and personally. The complications hadn't disappeared, but they'd learned to manage them together, finding clarity in the bigger picture. Sometimes, Olivia reflected as Nathan deepened the kiss, the wrong first impression led to exactly the right match.